Welcome, welcome, one and all you HunYuans and HunYuets. We're back together again, taking advantage of the coronavirus in order to enrich ourselves. Dude, turn your speaker off. What's his name in the red shirt?
Sorry.
Billy, turn your speaker off. You're off? Okay. So I want to introduce everybody to my very good friend, Sifu Jeff Radcliff, who has the Chen Taiji, Ohio. I want to show you his email address and his website. You just go www.Chen Ohio or TaiChi Ohio, you'll get it. And if you want to send him an email, you can just send it to Sifu Jeff at that corner. Jeff, you and I have known each other for a long time, haven't we?
Yes, sir.
And we probably met, I think, was it the first time with Master Zhang?
We actually crossed paths at tournaments before that, but then we started our dialogue with Master Zhang.
And I remember Master Zhang was coming up to Catfish Bay or Whitefish Bay with Jim and Angie Crisamagna. You were there, weren't you?
Was that in Milwaukee?
Yeah, the early 1990s.
Yes.
The first one was 1991. And then you've been studying with him for a long time. You're always coming up to San Francisco. I know you take a lot of private classes, and you've always attended all the big, interesting events and so forth.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, you are a disciple of Chen Qingzhou. I'll just put his name up here in case the one in the middle. And he is like the king of the LaoJia Ilu, right?
Yes. Keeper of the original form.
Yeah, and he had the intention to preserve the Chen village form and not crisscross it with any of the influence by Chen Shaokuai.
Chen Xiaopei, yes, was his teacher.
He recently died in 2015, right?
Yes, September.
Okay. And so tell us a little bit about your experiences with Master Zhang, and you're looking back on it, what you feel the advantages were, if you have any good stories.
You know, the thing about Master Zhang is he's just genuinely such a sweet man, such a great person.
Sweet.
A strong heart, lovable individual, and healthy is something that we always observed about Master Zhang. You know, have other teachers that are stern, and you know Master Zhang can be stern, but he's always sweet about it, always nice about it, and he just always had your best interest in mind, you know. And but when you had something, when you were doing something that wasn't correct, he couldn't live with that, you know. And I remember the little smacks on the rear, and you know, tuck that rear, you know, and down in the quad, and but there was one time in particular, Justin, we were in St. Louis with you, and Vinny Rivera was with me, you know, and of course we spent a lot of time with Master Chen, and then he said, "Look at Master Zhang." You know, looked over at him, you know, and he goes, "Look how healthy he looks," you know. And
who said that?
Vinny Rivera.
Yeah. Okay.
You know Vinny, and I thought, you know, he's like the picture perfect health, you know, that radiating just good health, you know.
Well, I remember when we first knew him, he used to drink quite a bit with us, go out to some of the restaurants, but his wife really took over. I think she's the one who's most gets the most credit for his health.
Oh my goodness, what a wonderful person. Yeah. The dumplings.
Yeah. And, what's interesting, Jeff, is that you had the opportunity to study with Chen Qingzhou, who is considered the total resource on the original form of Chen style Tai Chi, which he studied from Chen Xiaopi when Chen Xiaopi went back to the village. And he exclusively stayed with that particular style. That's the real LaoJia, the old school way, right?
Yes.
How'd you meet him?
Through Tony Wong.
Tony? Yeah.
Sorry?
Oh, go ahead.
It's kind of a funny story. We just happened to be in San Francisco with the group at the band shell in Golden Gate Park, and Tony brought Master Chen over, and I bet Kat was there at the time, and Master Zhang asked him, you know, who his teacher was, and he said Chen Jiaopei, and Master Zhang thought he said Chen Jiaokui, which you know Zhang studied with Chen Jiaokui for 5 or 6 years, right? And he said, oh, Sifu! You know, Sifu, and it was just a fun exchange, you know. So,
and you actually became a disciple of Chen Qingzhou. What year was that?
Well, you know, I couldn't tell you the year. It was
I can tell you.
Probably right around 2004, something like that.
Okay. Now, you had been studying with Master Zhang for quite a while. You learned the first 2 forms, is that right? Or what were you?
Yeah, you know, I did 48.
Yeah, the 48, yeah.
And because I taught 48 here, and you know, 48 was a very difficult form. It had 5 aspects of second form in it. And so I did that for years. And then once I learned Yilu, the long form, and just that became my staple. And you know, it takes a long time to teach Master Feng's Yilu. And so I kind of struggled with that for a while, teaching 48, thinking, well, this is abbreviated form, it's a shortened form. But it just took a long time to teach. So then I moved on to 24.
Yeah.
And it still took, I was teaching in a quarter system, and it would take, you know, almost 4 quarters to teach 24, because we always emphasize HunYuan and silk reeling. So it just, we just kind of landed with LaoJia. LaoJia is something you can learn in 10 weeks pretty easily.
So that's one of the real advantages of LaoJia. It's much more user friendly, especially for beginners. It really reminds me a lot of Yang style.
It's just simple. There's no extra stuff in there. In fact, I would always get in trouble because I would always want to, you know, keep it going like Master Feng and Master Zhang do. And you know, I think we had this conversation not long ago, Justin, that, you know, if I had to go back and learn HunYuan, the first form and second form, it would be kind of grueling. It'd be kind of hard to do because it is a difficult system to learn. However, having said that, it's by far my favorite to do.
My opinion is that the XinJia isn't so much a new or different form. It is a elaboration, or it's the LaoJia, but, you know, on a much more sophisticated and level. But I certainly agree with you that this is no form to teach beginners at all. 24 is okay, but the 83 is by far something the only people who deserve have studied the, how many numbers is it in the LaoJia? If it's 83.
LaoJia 75.
If you study 75, I guess it would be, you'd have a much better chance of learning the 83. But what I've noticed is the guys who studied the 75 do the 83 like the 75. And the guys that study the 83 do the 75 like the 83.
Yeah, I tell you, well, you know, 83 parallels 75. You know, for instance, single wit or Dan Bien is in there 8 times. And you know, like Master Zhang used to always say, which always helped me prioritize things, he'd say, the more that it's in there, the more important it is, you know. And so you would just take note to that as the more you would do a form, you would make sure that you knew the applications to those different postures, especially, for instance, single whip.
What about it?
And that it shows up 8 times.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, it has so many. Now in LaoJia, it's called Dan Bien or Dan Tian change. And single whip ends up at the end of it. And it's said to be likened like a snake. And the different applications or the different postures that come after single whip are like a snake being attacked. It's attacked by the tail, it's attacked in the middle, or it's attacked on the head. And so you'll see how it transitions into, for instance, Fair Lady. Boom, you're in the protecting the tail, you know. And then a lot of them where it goes into cloud hands or something like wave hands, you know, and that's in the middle generally. And so it's just the different ways of thinking about the postures and the applications of the postures. As you know, some of them have many applications.
Yeah. Did Chen Qingzhou talk about applications as he was teaching the form?
All. It was the delivery was all through application. Most of it through push hands.
Yeah. And now he passed in 2015, but he had 4 sons. Who do you keep up with?
Chen Youze, he used to come here, and we had to teach LaoJia one time. He created for the Chinese government the Chen family 26 posture competition form. And so we learned that from him. And that's another form that we teach. It's very quick to teach. It's only 26 postures. The thing about Youze is that Master Chen was always traveling the world teaching Tai Chi. And Youze was back around the village. And so he did a lot of study with Wang Xian and his sons. You know, so where Master Chen had 5 sons, Youze being the oldest, and Wang Xian had 3 or 4 sons, I believe, and it just sounded like they hung together a lot. And you watch if you see the 26 posture form that is the national Chen competition form, it looks just like Wang Xian's work.
And is there a video of you doing it on YouTube?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, 2 books I'd really like to recommend, especially for those interested in the beginning of Tai Chi after Chen Xiaopi came back. Both are by Mark Chen. They're extraordinary books, and I really urge anybody who's interested in the original to do that. Hey, Jeff, when was there a system of Chansa Chen with Chen Qingzhou's style, Chen Qingzhou's art?
When he first started coming here, we said, how about the silk reeling? Where do we learn some silk reeling exercises? And we said, where are those? He says, they're in the form. They're in the form. You know, like we're stupid, right? You know, it's like, oh yeah, okay, sure. And
actually, what I wound up doing was taking individual movements out of the form and teaching them as Chansa rather than having a separate system.
More through application, and in push hands. One of the things about Master Chen is, you know, a lot of times there'd be a group, and when he's around, if things got slow, or if it's toward the end of the session, or if somebody was fooling around, you know, you see him start looking around. Oh, and so he's looking around, he'd go find a stick, and he'd get the stick, and he'd go in the sand, and he'd draw a circle. And then he'd grab someone, he'd put them in the middle of the circle. He'd go grab somebody else and put them in the middle of the circle. He'd put their hand on it, right, go. You know, and you knew what that meant.
Yeah.
Don't go down and don't go out of the circle. You know well, right, Justin?
Yeah.
So it's
Old school.
yeah, you never knew what was going to happen either, and it was then you're under the gun.
So initially, I don't think that there were separate Chan Tzu Chin exercises. When it got to the 4 tigers, it seemed like there were 10 of them. You know, single arm circle, double arm circle, a couple of them. And then with Master Feng, he expanded to about 30, 35.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
well, it's just you know as well as anyone that they're the moves of the form broken out basically.
Yeah.
And then just the focus on the joints of the body was always the emphasis. What did they say? That lubricate the 18 joints, right?
Right.
So I'd sit there and start counting, you know, missing one, you know. So a lot of since then, a lot of emphasis on joint work and that kind of thing for me, for moving forward at my age, is in between the knees and the hips. You know, it's the quads, and you know, that's where my appreciation for Master Zhang lies more than any place else.
So we can definitely credit Master Zhang with the introduction of Chan Tzu Chin, the stick, the Chin-Na, a couple of things. He was the expert. Now, Chen Qingzhou has a lot of interesting training equipment. He has a bong, but it's more like in a Y shape, right?
60 degree. It's a 60-degree shape.
And is that something that was historically part of the Chen, or was that something Chen Qingzhou came up with?
This is old school.
Yeah.
You know what I don't understand is why we hadn't seen it before. I had never seen it before that. And there's a few things that show up that I'd never seen. But the way that I would describe it is with the straight bong that we use with Master Zhang.
Yeah.
You know, with any of the bongs, you're bringing the earth up to the hands through the dantian. With the straight bong, there's such emphasis on the ability to grab, the ability to perform Chen-Na.
And to rotate dantian.
Yes, and it seems like this bent bong gives more of a. So with the straight bong, the dantian is rolling. So if it's a ball, it's kind of hard to teach a beginner or someone that's at middle level. So what I'll normally talk about, and I'll relate it to a spool. Here's the spool, like a spool of thread. The spool's vertical now. When we're moving left and right, that's horizontal force, right? The horizontal plane. We talk about the vertical front-back plane. It's the spool's lying down, you know, rolling like as if you would roll it down in front of you on this ground. And then the right and left vertical plane, it's as if you turn that 90 degrees and you roll it left and right on the ground. So you can take those 3 dimensions out and explain it. With this bong, now the dantian is round again and it folds. So when you deliver, for instance, I'll say you turn that spool, like when the thread comes off of the spool in a sewing machine, the spool's turning the whole time because the thread's coming off. What if you have the ability to turn that spool out by the mind? It's the dantian, and it throws the thread off. That's the punch, okay? So the dantian can turn and throw the thread off, but you can also move the spool. You can throw the spool. And that's one of the things you learn with the TaiChi sphere, the ball, is you've got this heavy.
Well, I get to that, Jeff.
Yeah. So now you're throwing the spool. You can move the spool while it's turning, right? And then Now, if you can imagine, so you bring this concept to the hand and delivers the punch from ground through dantian to hand. Now, can you imagine if inside you can fold the dantian, and then at the end, when that spool delivers it to the hand, it goes.
And can you be clear about what you're talking about is folding the dantian? Is that stomach chest folding you're talking about, or something
Here's the
different?
dantian,
Yeah.
right? Roundish. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Dantian, roundish, fold. And so you take the spool, it casts out in the arm, through the arm, and then when it hits the subject, goes inside and explodes.
But the body dynamics would first involve a compressing and a release.
Yes, in that there's the I'll tell you the first move of this bong is this. Now, here's the key. I look away and I tell you which way is it going to fall. Right?
Yeah.
You have to listen. This teaches you how to listen. The first exercise only teaches you how to listen. Right? You look away, which way is it going to fall?
Huh. Wow.
What do you have to do? You have to let go of the bong. You have to let go or it will never fall. It's the letting go. It's the relaxing is how you listen. You can't listen with tension, with stress, right?
But I think John really reinforced that. But both bongs could be a device used, a strength device. They could be used that way, but it seems like both the same.
Yes, absolutely. Now, so that's the first move. One of the moves in it is like this. It comes inside, and it's the swallowing of Tai Chi, right? So it comes inside,
Yeah.
folding, right?
And that's also loading and releasing the Mingmen.
Yes. Of course, the back. The last thing you want the back to do is to bend, right?
Right.
But,
Well,
but
a little bit.
flex.
A little bit.
Sorry.
Flex.
Yes.
Like
As
a
it
boat.
flexes through, it flexes in the joints. The many flexing portions of the quads, right? All kind of angles that go there. It's obvious there are two quads, right?
Right.
But count 8. Especially like Master Zhang would say, the pump in the back.
Yeah.
He would say there's the pump. That back quad portion is probably the hardest area to get to and do something with. And he seemed to just have very good control of it, But then the other joints of the body, the other day I was teaching the rolling over of the shoulders, not simply just the rotating of them, but as in wrap cracker, and just straightforward cow. So
Now, in addition to the what do you call your bong? Just the bong?
yeah.
What one of the interesting things about Chen Qingzhou is that TaiChi ball. Can you tell us a little bit about how that developed and what it does for people?
Well, in terms of ball, when we would have a workshop, the difficult thing would always be to get the ball. They're hard to come by. And so
it's maybe like a bowling ball, but it's about a size and a half bigger.
Yeah, it's just a little better than 12-inch diameter.
Yeah.
Mine weighs 31 pounds. You can get them heavier. They usually have a screw in them that you can take out and put more metal shavings in.
Wow.
But being hard to come by, we would get bowling balls. And then just a little warning is make sure you clean the bowling ball because the ball, like they oil them all the time. It's the funniest thing. We had some new white Chen Qingzhou shirts that we had to workshop, and Vinny had a black stripe. on his white shirt. It was just the funniest thing. Don't forget to clean the oil off the bowling ball. It took us years to get good balls, you know, so.
But and both the bong and the ball can be seen on YouTube with Chen Qingzhou illustrating it.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask a few more things. I remember the first time I encountered Chen Qingzhou was in an article by Chris Eckert. And she quoted Chen Qingzhou. I can't believe a Chinese person would say this. Maybe she was putting it in colloquialism. But he said, people who don't practice standing, you know, are stupid, something like that. It's not very Chinese saying, but it really emphasized the fact that he thought a lot of standing. How much is standing as a part of his teaching and curriculum?
It initiated everything, every single thing. Before you learned form, you stood. You know, Jan Zhuang, and you know, I had always known Jan Zhuang like this.
Right.
And of course, the distinction from Wu Ji, the arms down, but his Jan Zhuang is like this.
Yeah.
The backhand, for instance, the hook, he would always say, the three fingers come to the thumb, and then the middle finger lays on top. And he would usually look like this, right?
Yeah.
But in Jan Zhuang, the finger's loose. It's under the Ming Mun. The Ming Mun, you know, the small of the back is here.
Yeah.
I always related it to a bucket on a maple tree. When I was a kid, they were always maple trees here to get the sap, you know, the maple syrup. And I always related that to being like a bucket. And so this one's in the front.
Yeah.
Right here. You look here. And then this one's in the back under the Ming Mun. And I say, well, then do we do it this long on the right and then we put the left out and do it that long? No. It's only done the one way, right?
And that posture is designed for what?
To have the body mechanics and to allow the energy to run through the body naturally.
And the hand positions?
That position, and that's it. And the only thing that changes is that you go lower and lower in the stance as you do it. And so you do it for the period of time that you're doing it. Each exhale, you go lower into the qua, sinking into the qua, of course, not into the knees. And so a story is, you know, we were in San Francisco, Vinny and I, it was a really humid day. And we're up on somebody's front porch doing Jan Zhuang. And Master Chen would come up to you and he would go like this and give you his energy. A whole workshop here one time. He said, I will give you my energy if you promise me one thing. No sex for 10 days. And it was seriously. And he'd say, if you can't make that promise, just go over there and you won't be doing this. So, and there were probably 12 people that he did that with. And, you know, it takes his energy, but then you get to feel it. And that's the key. And so this day we're in San Francisco, we're standing. And here's the deal. You go low. It's very important that you go low and your legs start shaking. You know how when you do low stances, your legs will start shaking. And it's important that the legs shake, okay? And now, you go low, and we're doing it. So you're going low. Master Chen would say, you only have to do it 3 minutes, right?
Right.
Minutes, go low. So yeah, you're encouraged to go low. Well, every once in a while, he'd be like, don't stop yet. So you're about 7 minutes into it. It's like, oh my gosh. When the legs start shaking, that's where the lesson is. Because in Master Chen's Jan Zhuang, there are 4 mantras. Ah, Si, Shu, Chui. Well, Chui is the only one that we don't really have in English, right? H, right? Wayne Dyer used to say the sound of God, you know. C, like a C, or like SEE, you can see.
Yeah.
Shoe, like the shoes that you wear. But Shui is not in the English language. And so it's a TSUAI, CHUAI sound.
And these were resonances for the internal organs or what?
It's a mantra with the resonance for now. And yes, some would say internal organs. Youze goes right to that. But I don't think that's where the real power of it is from. I think it directs the energy through the body. For instance,
Are they words or just vibrational sounds?
It's like a word, but it is the vibration that's important. And the sound is coming out internally. So for instance, the first one, ah, is an exhale. Ah, tongue's always up. The second one, ah, see, is inhale. And so I'm teaching a bunch of the Taekwondo Grand Masters are all here in Columbus because of one of the guys that are here. We're teaching all these guys, and Master Kim says, how can you say see when you're inhaling? I said, that man, there he knows, right? Because that's the key. It's done silently, but you have to have that vibration. You have to have that resonance of that sound. And so that's the trick, is that on the inhales, you still have to make that sound in your
harmonica.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Well, what is the purpose of each? What are the unique purpose of each of the four sounds?
There you go. That's where we would always go. We say, Master Chen, tell us what do these sounds mean? Ancient Buddhist mantra. That's it. So as you know, that's all he gives us. And so he said the key is doing it. Don't ask me what it is. You'll know after time.
Was he a practicing Buddhist?
Not that I know of. He would meditate, but not in front of anyone. I only saw it by walking in the door on him, right? So it's the key is he didn't want to sit and explain something to you.
Old school.
Supposed to find through nature yourself.
Yeah.
And I can tell you what it is, but I'd be cheating you. I mean, and genuinely, that is the case. Yeah. So you just do it like this, and you keep going lower, and you really don't need to do it for much more than 3 minutes. But when you become a disciple, it seems more like 10 minutes. But the thing is, what happens is he teaches you how it comes out of there. Now, for instance, you know, when we I think you went to those Masters of China. Yeah. Xu and Master Zhang, and there'd be some other masters there. Yeah. You remember Master Zhang did a demo?
What I'm talking about the one where they had the 5 masters in Nashville?
No, this one was in La Honda, California.
No.
They actually did 2 of them. I think it was in 94, 95 maybe.
Is it George Xu something?
Sorry?
Is this George Xu doing this?
George Xu, yes, and had Master Zhang. And I forget the other masters that were there. My point is, Master Zhang did a demo. He stood down there, and he picked 3 guys. Kai, were you there?
Maybe no. I was in Master Feng's workshop 2001.
Oh. Well, anyway, Master Zhang's down there. He picks 3 big guys out of the audience. And he didn't necessarily know these guys. I talked to one of them, had a Wing Chun school in Manhattan. I mean, these guys they're big boys, and they didn't necessarily know Master Zhang that well. They came to learn with him. Well, he put their hands on him, and he said, push. I was just standing there in a normal 1-step stance, right? And you stand your hands down like this, and these big boys could not push Master Zhang. That's when I got on board. You know, I'm like, wow, I was so impressed. You know, and then at the end he kind of goes boom like that, and they kind of go their ways, you know. And they were all very impressed. Of course, you get to know them at a 5-day workshop, you know. So
Jeff.
Master Zhang's demonstration.
Yeah.
Right? Every master has some means to let you know they have something. Master Chen's he would lie on his back and put a pebble. He'd get a rock, usually about this big, and he'd lie on his back, he'd pull his shirt up, and he would set the pebble on his Dan Tien, and he would shoot the pebble in the air, right?
That was the Master Zhang Xue's challenge. There's a story about one of the Yang family members who could do that and would go up like 3 feet in the air. And he made a challenge for all his students to try to do it. He could flip it a little bit. I don't know how high.
Well, that was just it. When you tried to do it yourself, you respected it because it's not that easy to do. And I always thought, what, that doesn't show me anything. What is he trying to get through to me? Like Master Zhang's, I knew right away what they're talking about. You're talking about that whole Peng Jing, whole full body grounding, which is the source of heavy hands and everything. I didn't know until I became a disciple what the application of that was.
And
Show it to you until you became a disciple. and it is the entire body moving as one unit because that thing in the middle does, right? And he was very good at it. And so he had this thrust, and he would do this thrust, and he's shooting the pebble, And so then you go back through the years now, and you plug that into all the movements, especially cover hand punch and things like that. And that's one of the unique things to me about LaoJia, is there are parts in the form. For instance, I think Kai does LaoJia, or if you do LaoJia, you come to front trick, back trick. And this is something I'd studied with Dr. Fred Wu. I did Chen style, Chen Fuka's book. And I studied for 12 years with him before I met Master Zhang. And you come to front trick, back trick. I'd never seen this. And it's the flick of the knee, which is what I'll get to in just a second. One of Master Zhang's high messages is, so in LaoJia, you get the front trick, back trick, and you hear, and the knee goes really hard. Well, once you learn that, you plug that in to all things let, okay? Let means shear, two forces going opposite directions.
Right.
And then you plug that knee action into every let. For instance, on second form, turn waist elbow down, right? That's nothing but a super low oblique posture. And you can work it in there pretty quick, like if it's on the street or something like that, But man, when you throw that little knee flick in there, it's just a little spice that makes it terrible.
Jeff, since you brought it up, what do you see as the differences between the Ilu and the Arla, the first and second forms, from LaoJia point?
The first in any system that you're in,
Yeah.
of course, the power. And Yosa made it real clear. When they do the four forces, Peng Lu, Ji An, here's the Sai Let, Joe Kao. When he does a Sai, for instance, he does Sai Let, Jiao Kao, or some people call the four corners, the second set of the 8 energies. He does them with complete force. And so it's like, he would say, this is the second form.
One person said, I think it was somebody who said of Guru Shen, said, if you learn the first form, you have the technique and you have the flow and you have the connection. He said, all you have to do is add speed. And I'm not quite sure that captures all of it, although that's part of it.
Well, it was one time, and it blew all of us away. And I think this was in one of those Milwaukee seminars, Justin. Master Zhang would always say, the body leads the hands.
Yeah.
That was always the body leads, Dan Tien leads the movement, right? Like, really. And then all of a sudden he said, second form, and this is later. And we're all there. I remember Bruce Ching being there, and Master Zhang said, first form, body leads the hands. Second form, hands lead the body. The first time,
That was a shock. That was a
yeah,
shock.
everybody looked around, and Bruce was like, "Do you know what he means by that?" I said, "No, why would I know, right?" And so it's like when you do the second form, you start to understand, of course, and you have to perfect the first form in your psyche, in your mind body, to learn the effect of relaxation. And as you know, the energy moves through the body. It's very simple. When you learn Peng Jing, you can feel what I call the coat rack. And from head to toe, you feel this, what Master Zhang would use in that demonstration I talked about. Well, you have to train the mind body where the energy flows. And that's the beauty of Master Zhang. That's what he did, Justin. In that workshop that we had, remember we had like 20 questions.
I want to save it. I'm going to ask it in just a second.
Okay.
Right
Well,
now, let's finish with the first form and the second form.
When the mind body understands how the energy is supposed to flow, and then you do great Tai Chi and keep it connected. And that's a hard thing to do. So you've got to go slow. You have to be meticulous. You've got to be relaxed. And you do still need to get to a point where you lose your mind, where you don't have invading thoughts. I mean, from the standpoint of your mind's in complete control, okay? You're in complete control of your mind, rather, okay? So, and then you've got to get good at that, because when you start throwing the ball around, when you start throwing this extreme power around, you've got to be good at it, because you can hurt yourself. I had a student that hurt himself, okay? And that's when I learned the stomp can be dangerous, because when you're going through the second form and issuing great power, man, if you're off a little bit, you can hurt yourself. And then, like, if you stomp and you transfer weight to that foot that you're stomping with, that's coming through the back. And well, my student hurt his back. It hurt his lower back, and fortunately, that was a long time ago. So I was able to, always warn people that you keep the bulk of your weight on the supporting foot when you stomp.
Did Chen Qingzhou address shaking power?
He does some shaking. I don't. That spring shaking power is, it comes out, and I have it here and there. But you see some people that have all kinds of it, and myself, it seems a little derived. I think it's it can be overemphasized, but at the same time, it is a form of connected relaxation.
When I was
Emphasizing it? No, he didn't emphasize it. No.
When I was studying in China in 1981 with Feng, he had some shaking power, but over the years, he gradually toned it down. Now, I want to, Jeff, you and I are martial artists. Zhang did not spend a lot of time standing. He talked about it, but he himself didn't spend a lot of time standing. And neither he or Feng believed in low stances. I don't have the time for standing, although I have done it, nor do I see any benefit in those low stances other than antagonizing your knees.
I agree.
What's the purpose then?
The lowness of Jian Zhuang, of Master Chen's, is not, it does not go through the knees. Well, the connection flows through the knees. The knees do not bend. You're bending in the qua. The key in the qua is tucking the coccyx.
Right.
That's almost it in a nutshell.
Okay, I agree.
As long as you keep your verticalness over the Yang Chuan, over the foot center, not the heel, right? And you feel that full connection. And the key is to feel the energy go through the knee, not to get stuck at the knee. I agree 100% with you, Justin. Low stances like the old Hungar and those, the young men, it's good. It's good to build muscles. What we're learning is to build connection, not muscles, right? You see Master Zhang, he's so powerful through relaxation. there using that's not relaxation, right? So the big distinction is to get that vertical alignment where you can let go. And that's the key to Wu Ji.
That would be the key to anything in Tai Chi. And if
I think so.
helps, then that's worth doing. But the low stances with knees at a 45-degree angle, a 90-degree angle, I forget. That's too much. I remember Zhang, well, actually Master Zhang must have heard from Tony about that standing posture, you know, with the hand formation. And he started teaching us, and it was brutal.
Yeah.
And you could, and like you say, I mean, if you're not shaking, you're not even there yet.
Right.
But he would put his knee up, and your butt had to be that far down. But and then I studied with Chen Xiaowang, and you know, they make the slightest correct connection, and all of a sudden you have internal combustion, the agony, and the fire. It's just unbelievable. But I don't see how it translates into punching something.
Well, I'll tell you what I've learned. Two things. One is when the back releases.
Yeah.
Standing in Jianzhuang. I'm standing in Jianzhuang. The wind's blowing, howling. It's winter time. It's almost dark, right? We're standing out back, and I'm standing, and it happened on the inhale. I'm inhaling, and it goes, "Pah!" My back went like that. I said, I looked at the video. I said, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that?" Didn't hear that. The wind's blowing, you know, and I was like, it was this release in my body that was phenomenal. It didn't hurt. It was loud, and it had this effect. And I was like, I know that's life-changing. Now, I don't know how, but, you know, so that's one thing. And the other thing is the point for going low and doing the shaking. Like I have my students, they get lazy. They don't go low. It doesn't shake. I'm telling you, you're cheating yourself, because you have to have the legs shake, because then you find out what happens when you properly exhale. Right?
Well, the other thing is, if you can get past the leg shaking, you have truly relaxed, because your leg is shaking, you're still using the muscles to try to resist the gravity and alignment.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a guy, Mike Thomas. He's he taught gymnastics, and he could just about put his butt on the ground.
Why? What?
Proud Master Chen, you know, look, Master Chen, look here. He'd go way down low, and we'd be at the end of the session. He said, lower. Because his legs were shaking.
I don't see it, Jeff. And what I do see, and I'm not criticizing anybody or anything, and I won't name names, is a lot of people with knee problems, a lot of people with hip problems, primarily from practicing old school Chen style. You know, we don't do that in Feng system at all.
Well, a lot of that comes from it being one-sided and stomping.
And from stamping.
But and you know, the thing is, I hurt my knees in high school playing football.
Yeah.
And they wanted to take my meniscus out, and I got a second opinion, and well, I'm so glad I did. You know, that was many, many years ago. My knees are 100%, 100%. And
the same problem. And you saying Tai Chi helped with that?
Absolutely.
My sis said the same thing. I think she didn't even have well, I'll ask Bruce in a little bit. But that's incredible. When people ask me about Tai Chi, I say, if you study, give it a couple of weeks, you will see what the difference between relaxation and not relaxation is.
Yeah, yeah.
If the major problems other than stress reduction that I think Tai Chi really helps with is if you have shoulder, neck, low back, or knee injuries. I've seen so much unbelievable healing when people practice Tai Chi correctly.
Absolutely. And you know, the key to healing is flow.
Yeah, well, one more question. We were talking about this. We were talking to Michael Dorgan last week. And the first person who turned me on to this was actually Anthony. Anthony used to be the interpreter for Master Zhang for a long time. I don't see him much, but I consider him one of the most influential people in America with regard to Tai Chi Chuan. And I love him a lot, but we don't see each other anymore. But at the same time, where am I going? What was I talking about?
With Michael.
Oh yeah, Michael. Michael, you know, some people, Chen Youze and George Xu, really want you to stand, not rigidly, but without movement whatsoever. With Feng, you're never in that position. There's always yin and yang, and there is a kind of a slight natural reaction to movement. It doesn't overwhelm it, but it allows the qi to run its course. You're never just standing still.
Now, I like that when you sent us those articles, those Feng articles, and that emphasis that, you know, it's the distribution, not the 50-50 type of thing, right?
Wow.
It made total sense. And you know, the thing is, the highest thing that I've ever done, double anything else, is Wuji. And, you know, if you stand for an hour and a half, things happen. Your life's going to change.
I ain't got an hour and a half.
And that's 50-50. So, you know, so that's the thing. That's my only thing, is that can confuse someone. It's 50-50, but everything is moving.
Well, we'll throw this out to the group in a second. There's a few more things I want to talk about. Let me think. What was it?
I did want to mention a couple other little things about differences between the LaoJia versus XinJia type of thing.
Yeah, good.
The eyes, Master Chen would teach the position of the eyes completely different. You know, with XinJia, the eyes tend to go with the move.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, in my opinion, is that the nose and the navel go together, right? And you learn, that helps you to understand the Dantian doing the move.
It keeps your mind from wandering. You're focused on something.
Now, in LaoJia, the eyes stay forward. For instance, when you do Danbian, Danbian comes off of 6 ceiling 4 closing. Of course, Master Zhang's is down, LaoJia's here. And when you do Danbian, once you pull and then you step, the eyes stay forward. You don't turn with the move. The eyes stay forward. And there's this, and you know, the cloud hands, in wave hands, for instance, you don't look right and left. You stay forward. And the purpose for that is, in my opinion, you know, 400 years ago when this swarm was taught, people didn't do it so much for health. They did it to stay alive. They had to go to battle. They had to fight the bandits. You know, it was real stuff. There wasn't a lot of time for extra things. Like, you know, it takes me almost a half an hour to do 83.
Good.
75 LaoJia only takes 13 minutes. So the point is, it's more efficient. The eye discipline develops peripheral vision. You know, when we were running through the jungle all the time, when we were cavemen, we needed that peripheral vision. When you're sitting TV on the couch watching TV, you don't need much peripheral vision, right? So it's the redevelopment of the peripheral vision you learn to appreciate. I really do.
Jeff, I, as a martial artist, believe that in the beginning, it's very helpful to follow the lead hand as long as it's above the waist. However, as a martial artist, I feel it should be like driving a car. If you're backing up, you better see what's behind you. If you're turning left, you better just check and make sure that that lane is open. If you're turning right, you're going to look first. The idea of just looking at the wheel isn't going to get you down the road, I don't think.
Right. But if you're in a fight and there's more than one person you're up against, you look to the left, you don't see to the right.
I should be totally aware, yeah. Chen used to always say the ears and the shoulder for energy flow should always be in line.
Oh, nice.
What else were you going to say, Jeff?
Oh, just those little things that are differences between LaoJia and the newer stuff, you know.
and I'm going to open it up to the wild people in just a second. Now we get to where we wanted to be. You hosted Master Zhang in Ohio, and we all came up for that. Were you there, Bruce? Yeah. It was without a doubt one of the best workshops I had ever been. And it was totally and exclusively devoted to the HunYuan Qigong. It was incredible. I mean, he did some other things, but that exposition, I've never heard him so precise, so detailed. And you know, Master Zhang is really technically detailed. You know, you look at Feng today and it's just whatever. But that workshop, I'll never not thank you for posting that. You and I were shocked. I mean, shocked and happy.
No, Justin, it was you.
What?
You were at my house. We said, that man is so knowledgeable. The only thing you got to do, you got to get it out of there. It's all in there. You got to get it out. Remember what you said? We said, we have to come up with questions. And we came up with like 20 questions.
We prepared ahead of it.
Because he answered everyone to the T, and Tony Wong was the interpreter.
No, he wasn't. It was a Bakwa guy. Do you remember, Bruce, what his name was?
Yeah, Fei Shui from Cincinnati.
He was a heavy-set Asian guy who did Bakwa. It was not Tony.
Okay, but I thought it was Tony.
No.
Yeah, it was Fei, and we were really lucky that he was translating.
It was beautiful.
There were, well, I have 6 pages of notes here.
I now have 30 pages of notes, which I'm going to share with everybody. I'm going to, Michael, I'm going to send it to you and give it out to all the disciples and everything, because I've improved on these notes over the years. What I love about the sequence is if you do it Master Zhang's way, there's at least 24 exercises. And it shows a progression. First, naturally flushing, clearing, opening the energy channels. Second, gathering from heaven, earth, and below. Third, circulating, getting the microcosmic going. Fourth, doing the macrocosmic orbit. And then the things. You know, now it's down to 12, and now it's down to, well, if you have a heart illness, you just do this one. The range and the sequence of that 24 Qigong to me was just magnificent. I've studied many styles of Qigong. This is the most user-friendly, the most likely to produce positive results, especially if practiced outside, and for health.
All inclusive.
Yeah.
All the Qigongs I've studied, it seems to all be in there, you know?
Unbelievable. I've never.
Simplicity's the key, Justin. You know that. Right?
Yeah.
And whoever put it together and made it so right, HunYuan must have been fantastic.
Jeff, I asked Feng.
Huh?
I asked Feng. I asked questions. One, is it Taoist in origin? He said yes. I said, well, who created it? Because, you know, how come you're the only guy who got it? You know, what if it's part of the curriculum, other people would have had it. He said it was I'm not sure if I believe it, but he said it was a collaborative effort between HunYuan and Chen Faka. And, you know, you notice from the hand on the hip to the hand in front of the Dantian with Chen Faka. He said it was a collaborative effort, and the only reason he got it was because he was the best. They weren't going to share it with somebody else. I don't know if all of that's true or not. I really believe it did come from HunYuan and the Master Chen Faka. They both were teaching together.
Yes.
Probably had some overlap.
Like a synthesizing of the different minds and forms into this system.
And then all of it, you know, Feng didn't really talk about it much. Kai and I have a great tape. I don't know where it's from. It's probably early 90s, where he's teaching outside. If you want to look at it, go on YouTube for Feng in the Park. Feng in the Park. You can see his early, originally his early exercises were, Chansa, Qigong. The big opening and the closing, and then the tree branch Qigong, loading the Mingmen. These were Chansa Qigongs. The Qigongs were basically not necessarily application related. And yet, if you wanted to work on the one thing that was the most important in the whole world, relaxation, this is how you did it. And as Kai says, practicing the Qigong is the same as practicing the Chansa, is the same as the form. If you don't practice the Qigong correctly, you're not going to get it right. And he spends a lot of time on Qigong and Chansa. But that was a great, great workshop. So I've got my thing. I'm going to send it to you. I'll send it to Bruce. Send it to Mike. Mike, you send it to the...
8 o'clock.
Give it to whoever you think. Do you know, when you teach today, what is your... what do you teach of Zhang's? What do you teach of Chen?
Me? We're doing LaoJia. But my class starts on Thursday night. It starts with HunYuan. And on Saturdays, it starts with silk grilling energy exercises.
Wait a minute. So you said it, HunYuan what?
HunYuan Qigong.
Okay, the HunYuan Qigong.
Qigong night. Now, my classes always start with what I call the silk grilling stretch.
Yeah.
I have a stretching system that starts from head to toe, and you've done probably most of them. And I just go through all of them, but with emphasis that it's all driven by the Dantian. So I just call it the silk grilling stretch. Should be able to get them all done within 10 minutes, and you're ready for class. You're ready for Wu Ji. You're ready to do the ball or form or whatever. So it's an opening that preps the body. As we get older, we have to stretch more. Huh? We have to stretch more, not less.
And Kai says
It's
that
very
a
developed.
lot of Master Feng's teachings came from the stretching exercise of the Shaolin. I'll ask him to talk about it, the I Ching, things like that. So what else do you teach?
It goes from, well, we used to, before this COVID thing, we had what we teach push hands. We teach the 5 methods. And it's just something that Youze emphasizes because he was like, 5-time world champion, what have you. And so he has what's called the 5 methods. And so we do that.
5 basic foundation methods.
Right. And so
about 20 or 30 of them.
Oh no, they're Dalu and Dapeng Dalu, so and then walking with pushing hands.
Yeah.
And that's the 5th method. So that's something that it bothers me with this whole COVID thing. We haven't pushed hands much, and so you don't want to get away from that, So, and then of course there's weapons. So the sword, I do Master Zhang's sword form.
I saw that.
And
You guys saw on YouTube.
I've learned Master Chen's, and some of Master Chen. One of the problems is I learned something called Li's modified Yang style Taiji back in the day, and
Li Ying Arn?
Li Ying Arn.
Oh my goodness.
He came from a family of doctors, and they people that did Tai Chi, and they found that there were repetitive motion injuries, right side injuries, basically.
Li Ying Arn also did the kicking method. He was a martial artist. Those were precious. Those were
Iron Palm in 100 days.
Yeah, Iron Palm in 100 days.
The Iron Palm.
And I think some of his videos are on YouTube as well.
Really? I just wonder if one of Dr. Wu's students on there, you can take a coconut, smash it.
Wow.
Palm.
So what do you consider in your presentation, your eclectic presentation? What is the essence of Zhang and what is the essence of Chen Qingzhou?
True high level. That's something they both have in common. Master Chen is a little more stern. You can tell he came from an environment where he was fully in control. And Master Zhang's delivery is genuine and concerned that you learn. And so they both get the same result, I think. But
John lightened up over time. I mean, you remember those early days. I mean, it was his way or the highway, basically.
oh yeah, he was rougher then, wasn't he? Well, and I had to appreciate that. It was so frustrating for me because every time I came to San Francisco, I wanted to learn the second form.
Well, I would do the same thing. He would say, well, what do you want to learn? I want to learn the double swords. And I can just tell by the look on his face, it was like, you know, he didn't want to say no, but I mean, everything about him was like, oh boy. And I said, no, Master, oh, wait a minute, I changed my mind, Master Zhang. I want to learn the first 5 movements. Oh, detail, gold. He was so happy. And I found that if you know the first 5 movements and you have the connection, you can do anything.
He said, beginning good, whole form's good. Right?
Did I send you my top 10 list of Master Zhang sayings?
Yeah, the one in there, every move all the way, that really bothered me.
So if you have any, ask them, because I love, he was so succinct, you know. You and I were also in California when Master Feng was there, right?
Yes.
That was a great workshop. We went through the entire Feng Sun sequence, or was that when I was in Finland? I forget.
Yeah, he introduced that system of his Fa Song Gong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Year before, he had done a workshop in Finland. I was there, and then he did the 32 with us.
Yeah.
That was a great class. I won't change it. How the 32 is expanded to some ungodly number. It's got everything, including the kitchen sink in it. I think they should have chopped off the 32 is the 24. The 24 is the Ilu. The 32 is the 24 of the Paotui. All that other, you know, stuff it belongs in another form.
Well, another thing in relation that you have to mention, all of you that are studying with Master Zhang have to mention, comes from Feng, I know, changes in the form.
So this was big for me, Jeff. I went with Master Zhang. I said, okay, they'll do the 48. Yeah, the 40, I had learned the 83 from Feng. I didn't want to mess it up. But I said, okay, it's concentrated, but it really isn't easier. And it almost takes the same amount of the time. Yeah, they eliminate some repetitions, but sometimes you need those repetitions. So now the 48 is the gold standard. And he taught that. So I guess Feng started teaching that like mid-80s. I think part of it was political to get away from the Chen Village stuff, personalities. Yeah, I don't think it was easier to learn or shorter to learn, but then all of a sudden this HunYuan stuff started creeping in, and I'm sitting there saying, damn, you know, I just finished the 48, you want me to do this 24? Like that? Come on, I almost gave up. And
There were a lot of nuances in the postures that would change. And you know, every time Master Zhang went to China and came back,
yeah,
and then something was a little different now.
And then I you know, in my closed mind, I would get upset and say, damn, I've been working on all this other stuff. Now you tell me that, come on now. But you know, the thing that killed me was this dude is 80 years old and he's not bothered by it.
Right.
How can I justify sitting here?
Exactly.
You know, Zhang went through all the changes and captured the essence.
At
a certain point in time, you couldn't really study from Feng. You just got the big circle. Zhang was the technical teacher. I always think of as a bicycle wheel. Zhang was the spokes. You know, maybe it was rubber, but when you put it on the spokes, Feng was the wheel.
Well, you know, there was an article in TaiChi magazine where Feng said, no more changes in the form. Right, exactly. Right, I'm like, oh God, thank you. You know, and you go back and it's the same way. But I learned to appreciate it. I really learned to appreciate it.
He was a martial artist. He stayed up night thinking about it. He never threw anything away. All the stuff from the Tongbei and the Xingyi got right back in there.
I think a lot of the variations were due to applications that he's thinking of at that time. And
was things that he had learned in the past that he had found wonderful.
and this posture applies that, right?
Yeah.
And I learned to appreciate that. And Vinny and I, we would just take it. You know,
Yeah.
and he even said one time, he says, most people complain about the changes. He says, you guys just do it. And we're like, you may as well just do it anyway. We just appreciated the
I almost quit, but then I had to think.
It was tough. It was frustrating.
And
some people are gone because of it,
yeah,
Justin.
you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Prominent names. And looking back, Justin, there are where certain things show up a few times in the form,
Yeah.
like the winding, like after middle winding,
Yeah.
where they had variations.
Yeah.
If it goes up a couple times, I do it a couple different ways. I do it both ways, you know.
24, I throw out all the movements from here to punch the ground and put cloud hands in there. I just don't see, you know, cloud hands comes up so many times in the Chen. I don't know how you could have a 24 form without cloud hands. Punching the ground is nothing. It's of no value whatsoever. I mean, other than at the end of the line.
Well, in the second form, for instance, 32 and 32 cannon fist,
Yeah.
Feng had this move in there, you know, where you're.
Yeah.
And,
That's Tong Bei.
I wanted to keep that, yes, from Tong Bei. I wanted to keep that, and so in linking cannons, I throw it right. Master Zhang showed me that I could throw it right in there with linking cannons. Because Master Zhang, I love that move. It's great.
It's
So
not a punch. It's not a breaking punch. To me, it's to destroy the lead hand of whoever you're sparring against.
it's also lit because this one's coming up as this one's going down. It's a tearing motion, and it's the bottom line is it's very powerful, right? And so I do the 3 linking cannons, and then I do 3 of those, and
then all of a sudden everything changed. You know, linking, he had everything open hand, and now everything is closed hand. Instead of the sweeping circles that were essential to Chen style after the hidden hand punch, he's throwing these hooks.
Yeah.
And he
5
changed.
elbows, 5 punches. Huh?
I mean, you know, as soft as he was preaching, he went back to smashing people.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's in there.
It's in there.
Yeah, and that's what I learned looking back. I'm so thankful for it because I got a larger breadth of knowledge.
Yeah, and now you have such an incredible wealth of resources from which to draw on for yourself. And by the way, Jeff, I want to thank you. You and I always helped each other. And I remember the San Francisco one, you know, we would go over the 32 together and review the Feng Sun. You know, I've had other people that were like very wary about sharing anything. You have always been the most giving, outgoing, unselfish. But by the way, wait a minute, I just got to say something. At the last push hand tournaments, Jeff was given the title Grand Master. So when you talk to Jeff, remember, call him Grandmaster Jeff. You were one of the greatest guys for sharing and working together. I always had a lot of fun with you. Did you ever push hands with Chen Qing, your Sifu, Chen Qingzhou?
Chen Qingzhou? Push hands with him? Oh yeah, I got pushed all over the place.
What was that like compared to Zhang?
Both extremely capable. You couldn't. The softness in Master Chen was there, but you couldn't feel it like Master Zhang because Master Zhang's so smooth. But Master Chen, he's just bringing it, so it's hard to feel it, right? He's going to put you on the ground. And here's one of the things he would say: "Why can I push you?" I don't know why. He says, "Because my pung is longer than your lu."
Oh.
Why can you not push me? Because my lu is longer than your pung. Now you say long. Where's long? It's no place but in the quad, brother. That's the only place it is.
Jeff, I'm going to turn loose the wild bunch. But before I do that, is there anything you would like to leave us with or share or drop the depth charge or give us a gift of your wealth of experience?
Two things. I'm going to plug my one, but number two, I want to tell you about a regret of mine. I so love Master Zhang, and I became a disciple of Chen Qingzhou reluctantly.
Anthony did too.
And and I said I didn't want to at first, and he said why, and I said because of this man in San Francisco, Zhang Xue Xin. And he said, you've studied with him. You can study with him. That's okay. And that's the only way I made my decision to become a disciple. But my regret is I did not try to become a disciple of Master Zhang.
And I never even asked him. Zhang asked me. But we were in St. Louis where he made you a regional director of the Feng Zhiqiang, and it was Jim and Angie, it was you and me.
Yeah, and that's you, Justin. I really appreciate that.
Jeff, Master Zhang is back in China. He loved you. He always was. You were invited to everything. You were never an outsider. Other people, if they would even go and look at somebody else, they were. Well, we'll talk to Kai about that. I mean.
Well, then I'm glad you mentioned that, Justin. I'm glad you mentioned that because. When the whole big thing happened and people got ostracized, I was scared to death, and I wrote Master Zhang a letter, and I said, Vinny and I decided to study LaoJia because we know that you did, and that made us feel that we needed to, and everything was.
Master Zhang didn't study LaoJia; he studied XinJia.
So, Chen Jiahui, back early, and he studied with, Kai probably knows, he studied with someone before Chen Jiahui as well.
With Lei Muni, who
he studied with Chen Fake's goddaughter. That was his first.
Yeah.
And then Lei Mengli, Chen Zhaokui.
It's
Chen Zhaokui never learned LaoJia. Chen Zhaokui always does the XinJia.
So then, this is to smooth things over, right?
As senior disciple, I give you total absolution, and I let you know that your sins are forgiven. Master Zhang loves you. You have truly, in your own way, kept his name alive. You haven't hidden it, and you've always projected his art. Nobody who studied with you would ever come away with anything other than admiration and respect for Master Zhang. So you're forgiven. What's the other one?
So this is what Master Zhang said. He said, I don't care what kind of Tai Chi you study.
Yeah.
The important thing is how to express the energies in the form, the four forces more than anything, right? And so that hit me. That was just like a nice warm hug,
He always, I can tell you, I mean, I went out and we saw him the last time he was here. I mean, he always had great respect. What was the other thing you wanted to say?
I want to make a plug for my thing. I'm rolling out a system. It's called Yi-Dao. Yi-Dao meaning mind path. And so I'm going to be rolling it out, come out with a book. And it's just very simple. It stresses 5 little simple items. And it's all around Peng the whole body connection.
Is it stuff that we haven't heard before and stuff that is going to be easy to understand once they're
Yeah, trying to make it painfully clear, painfully easy for the layman, so that in the way I explain it is something that 20 years of studying Tai Chi, you could potentially learn it in a workshop. So
my thing is I never wrote an article that was not informative or useful to other people. All right, now the dogs are howling. I now open the floor. You are free to ask Jeff anything you want or say, give your own impressions. And we've got some wonderful people here, man. We got a great bunch of people. And this is going to be recorded. Mike Xia is recording it. I don't know if Jeff is, but somehow it's going to be made available so that people can go back and look at it again. Right, Mike?
That's correct.
So we might get it up on YouTube. You're free to put it up on your website, Jeff. I think it's going to be a very interesting discussion. Maybe someone can do a transcript of it. Probably we could do another one where we're doing illustrating, standing up and illustrating something. But right now for Coronaville, it's just nice to sit around in the community and talk the same stuff that we all love to talk about. And I love you guys. I haven't seen you. I only get to see you when I come out to San Francisco. Now I'm stuck in the Corona world. And this is just great. It's bringing us together, sharing information. So go get them, Tigers. Who's going to say something? Come on.
Hi, Bruce.
By the way, I just read Bruce's book. Bruce wrote a book. You know that?
Oh, what is it?
It's on
Amazon.
Amazon. And there's some disguised people in there that he pillories. But
It's very good to see you, Bruce. It's been so long.
Yeah, it's good to see you again, and thanks. It's good to catch up. I want to get your impressions about that Taiji ball, and here's why. After a couple of workshops with Master Chen Qingzhou, so I decided, okay, I didn't have access to a ball, so I got a bowling ball. It was only 10 pounds, but even that was too much for me on a lot of the moves. I couldn't do them and stay relaxed. So could you address that? How
Yes.
do you, the more extended moves with relaxation?
Absolutely. That is the whole key to the ball. Is the concept of Peng Jing, meaning vector through the body where a weight or a force comes to the ground. So every move with the ball, you have to sit the ball on the ground through the body. That's the key to all of it. I went through a time when I was doing it for 100 days and make sure I did it every day for 100 days. And I got sick. I got the flu in those 100 days. And my ball is 31 pounds. And it tore me up. It was too much. And that was a great lesson for me to know that I wasn't getting it fully on the ground. And this is what I mean by the concept of a coat rack. You've seen those ladies, they're usually in Africa or maybe in the Amazon, and they carry the stuff on their head, right? You think they bend over at all? You think they got a little creak in their step? Right? You can't. You have to be disciplined. And this is the key, is to learn to feel it, to learn to feel the connection through the body. And this is the major part of my system. And the only way that you can feel it, as you know, Bruce, through relaxation. And that ball just gives you that mechanism. It puts a hurting on you if you don't have it right, as you know. So, but I had to get sick before I realized it. And what I realized was I was using my muscles to compensate. I was too used to lifting weights and things like that. And it's the opposite of that. Does that answer your question?
Rose?
Yeah.
I tell you, Bruce, when we were stunned by that, the hands lead the body thing, I'll tell you my take on it. Then you tell me yours, because I know you guys are very knowledgeable, Kai, especially you. And then you go in there, and you say, what is this? The body leads the hands. That's all easy, obvious. Silk rolling, dantian leads the move, right?
Right.
Sit dantian on the ground, sit the hand on the dantian and drive the hand. So when the hand leads the body, is the hand goes out and it's a form of communication, tinging the listening ability. The hand goes out and listens. What is listening is not enough.
Did Chen Qingzhou say that?
No, this is TaiChi theory.
The idea of it.
From Dr. Wu.
Your personal interpretation?
Yes, well, it's just through, documented Tai Chi theory. Ting Jing, Tong Jing, Hua Jing. 1, 2, 3. Ting, listen. Tong, understand. Hua, neutralize.
We understand that, but when you talk about the hand leading the body, the only time I've ever seen that useful is in fencing or swords, where your lead hand is already the most important thing. And the idea of the hand leads the body, I don't know. I'm not quite sure.
Hand
I
leading
think
the
the
body
body loses connection. That's a problem.
it's the feedback. It's the feedback. To listen, I can't wait for them to put their hand on me. I put my hands on them and I listen to, and very well, you can tell what they're thinking sometimes.
That's the clearest explanation I've heard. Is that your personal interpretation, or have you heard that from anybody else?
That's my personal interpretation. That is my take on it. And
But it's still hard to explain the other way around. That what you say makes sense. I don't know how you could justify the hands leading the body.
but now the key is you have to feel it. The first lines of the Tao Te Ching say the way that you can speak of, that's not it. I can't tell you about it. You have to feel it for yourself. Now, because I have a little bit of knowledge about it, I might be able to show it to you enough that you can find it. You can't give it to them, Justin. You know that.
Yeah.
That's where the work comes in. And that's where, when you start to intellectually explain it,
Yeah.
right? In the Tao Te Ching, it says, grab at it. That's when you miss, right?
It is not, you can't explain everything. I mean, you can try, but you're missing something if you're only using technical terms. I mean, you could say, well, the core is the Dantian. I mean, that's the best we could do. I mean, Feng clearly said, look, people in the West, they talk about anaerobic and all this other stuff, and that's how they deal with it. We talk about Jing, Qi, and Shen, and that's how we as Chinese people talk about things. And, if you continue to force their terminology into your mindset, you may be missing something.
Yeah. Likewise, if you over intellectualize, if it's got to be a 22.5-degree angle, you're probably not going to get very far with it.
Yeah.
Who else? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
question.
So for me, I will just share what Jeff just said, right? I think the hands lead the body and the body the hands is about a connection between the hands and your dantian. It's a string.
Yeah.
And for some situation, your hand has to go there first to take the position, and your body come in to distract him. That's the position. Like they push, like you step up, push. Your hand go there first, then your body come in, right? And sometimes, like if you push hands, you stand like turn around. You have to step in first. Otherwise, your hand will never work. You got to hip have to walk in. But both, I think there's no specific rule. It really depends on when you do the form and what is the virtual opponent. Where are they? And what the position is, and how you're gonna get him.
Yeah.
And it's really about the hands and the dantian. There's a string. This string is flex. You got to understand that string is very flexible, and then you have to have that control all the time.
We've been looking to Michael recently as someone who's really made progress in both push hands and Chin Na. But I wonder what Brother Kai has to say. I mean, Kai was there for every single word. We have so many funny stories. We have so many interesting stories. Kai, I wonder what your opinion is on what we said so far.
Well, I think the first thing you have to learn is the first form, so that you really clear your body leading the hand. But that is the beginning. Once you're perfecting that move, then your hand can lead the body. This is the way to execute the power.
What's the meaning? What, I mean, how is it efficient? How does it, I mean, I'm just thinking if you're in a ring with somebody and you move your hand without your body behind it, I don't know where the power
Well,
is.
you have to have the body move as a basic, and then your hand execute the power. Okay, like just like the first move of the silk wheeling. Okay, your body turning the head, but at the end, your chin locate the shoulder. That is the limb is the leading. You're leading your body. So
Well, the only way I can see it is if you've done the first form, you already have the connection of the body and the hand.
that is
Once
exactly
you have that, you don't have to think anymore. The first thing
and
you have to do
also
is
you build in the concept of the extend
yeah.
the limb. Okay, so this is what Feng always emphasized. Every time he give a speech, he said you have to get 5-fold unity, and then you execute the power, extend or stretching to the limb.
So Kai, I asked Feng, I said, that was the other question I asked him. Were you in Finland with us?
No, I missed that one. That was
Okay.
1999.
That was a good, no, it was 1990,
That's 1999.
2000.
2000,
So,
okay.
Yeah,
2000.
so, I always thought about the TaiChi Classic, and it says, first seek expansion, and then later contraction or concentration.
30.
So I was asking Master Feng, I said, now you're talking about extending. I mean, it seems like these are two as opposed to containing. Shouldn't the movements be smaller, as you've gotten it all? He said, no, but he always had really long arms, almost gorilla arms. He said, if whoever can extend, can reach you first has the advantage. And I think that's Tong Bei.
Well, in the Qigong, actually the Qigong actually training you once how to extend through all the 4 point, okay, finger.
Yeah.
The second, create a contradiction. Okay.
Well, the first I understand is if you do extend, whatever tension you have left in the joints has dissipated because you can't extend if you're tense. But the second part, what do you mean by that?
Well, you have to create opposition, just like Master Zhang always say, ward off upward while you are sitting. So that means you're going up, but while you're sitting, you have the contradiction so that your body's the spine really can extend. So without the contradiction, you have nothing. So once you have a contradiction, it's very easy to do the chest stomach folding. It's actually in Chen Qingzhou's the standing, palm push out in the back, he feel the Mingmen really putting the folding power. Okay, and you have to give a lot of credit to Chris Eckert because she was the one that put a lot of effort to.
She really made him who he was in America. That first two articles in Chen Style Research Association, Greg Bissell, those were great articles.
Yeah.
You met Chen Qingzhou and you have his calligraphy in your house.
I was the first one meet Chen Qingzhou even before Tony. Well, Chen Qingzhou came in 1999. Okay, that was that in Bay Area there used to be an athletic meet, and it's always as a martial art demonstration by this guy Daniel Ong. So I was the first one saw him. At that time, Chris Eckert or Chris Brenner later, and brought him over. So I went to the workshop. Actually, he came to my house.
Wow.
Oh, he actually come to my house and train. Okay, and I asked him, hey, can you fight? He said, tell you the truth, I cannot use all the Tai Chi movement as a fight. Every expert train a few movement and fight. I said, what is your expert? They said, I can use shoulder strike. So I said, show me. So whatever I move, he always uses my shoulder, throw me on the couch.
And we saw in the UFC fight with Conor McGregor against Cowboy Cerrone, he used that shoulder to knock the other guy out, basically.
Yeah, it's just like one shoulder. And Chen Qingzhou's son, the Chen Youze, he has the advantage of learning a little bit of the XinJia, but actually he push hand was totally trained by Wang Xian. So actually he won several champions, and he has a little bit of the XinJia. And I asked Chen Qingzhou, I said, how come you don't learn the XinJia? He said, Chen Zhaokui was really mad at me. I was not showing up, but nobody know that. At that time, Chen Zhaohui taught XinJia. I was in jail.
And there's more to the story. There's much more.
There is a story. There is a story. The story is this. Chen Zhaopei was on his deathbed. And Master Chen was there. And Chen Zhaopei said, LaoJia dies with me.
Oh,
And Master Chen said, what do you mean? He said, look at all the young guys. I mean, you see the picture. Chen Youze was just a little kid, maybe 10, 12 years old, something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Chen Xiaoxing, a little smaller, right? All these kids. He said, they'll all do XinJia. LaoJia dies with me. And Master Chen vowed to Chen Zhaopei, I will never do XinJia again. I will.
And we're so grateful because, you know, once you lose the original, I mean, you can have variations off the original, but once you lose the original, there's no context. This is on your website.
Yes.
Picture of the Chen Qingzhou and Chen Shaoqui. And who's the guy in the middle, Jeff?
In the middle is Master Chen's father.
Okay, and then the four so-calls were kneeling in the front or something.
Yeah, and you know, Chen Xiaowan's in there.
Yeah, I saw it.
The reason the Chen's village learned the XinJia was because of the Chen Zhaohui. He went back 3 times and to teach the XinJia. On the way back, he always stopped by Ma Hong's house. So this is why Ma Hong also do a little bit XinJia.
Were you at the Mahong workshop in California?
No, I didn't.
No, I'm asking Jeff.
No, I wish I was.
I learned the staff there. It was great. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
But anyway, I just like to go back to the hands leading the body, and this exposes how it's done. The first movement. It's sensitivity, people. You know that. You know that's what we're learning. It's the bottom line of it. When Master Chen does cloud hands, he would say, no, it's wrong. It's wrong, it's wrong. So why is it wrong? Because the only thing the upper hand is doing is relax onto the dantian. It does nothing else.
Zhang used to always say, you know, the dantian is the ocean. The hands are like ships on top of the ocean. You know,
nice.
What motivates the hands.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, and so these analogies, ways that you can get it like that, are what stick with you. And when you plug them in, when you really learn to listen, Dr. Wu used to say, if you ask somebody what's Tai Chi, give me the name of Tai Chi, they say shadow boxing, right? The supreme ultimate fighting art, all these kinds of things. The description I like most is that it's harmony, right? Harmony in 3 aspects. First, with yourself. Second, with other people. And third, in nature. And 3 doesn't come before 1, right? As we all know. You have to learn it within yourself first. And you learn it through those mechanisms of Ting, Tong, Hua, right? To listening, understanding, and neutralizing before you ever do anything else. So you have to be able to listen to what's coming at you. Michael, when you step in there with the body to take the hands, you better understand what's coming at you, right? That's my, and right here, I'm telling you, that's the mechanism. You got to learn to relax, let go, and listen before you can understand. And you can't do anything until you do those 2 things. And then what comes next? Hua. And you never do another thing until you neutralize. So Ting, Tong, Hua has to happen in anything that you do. Everything that you do. You have to have those 3 things before you're ready to do anything else. And there are only 2 neutralizations in all of Tai Chi. Hong and Lu. And so I'll leave this with you. I've got the calligraphy over here from Master Chen. It's the Tai Chi poem. It's the push hands poem that you all have heard so many times, but it starts like this. Hung, Lu, Ji, and An are to be taken very seriously. top and bottom go together, no one can come close. Lead the attack force into emptiness and use the force of the trigger force of 4 ounces to control 1,000 pounds. You've heard it 100 times, I know, but what's it start with? Peng Lu Ji An.
But when you look at the development of historically of Tai Chi, nobody went for more power. Everybody went in the direction of moving 1,000 pounds with 4 ounces. That's the essence of it.
Yeah. And you only follow, you never try to stop a person's force. The best thing you can do is allow it to go where it wants to.
And that's one of the gifts that these teachers gave us, especially Zhang. You know, he'd ask you to put your hands on his stomach and his back so you can feel where his dantian was going. He'd ask you to, harder, you go hard.
Yeah.
You go lie down.
That's the beauty of your teacher giving it to you, isn't it?
Be generous. If you haven't touched the high hand, you don't know what you're looking for.
Exactly.
You may not understand the experience, but you understand that there's a level beyond what you thought was the highlight.
Yeah.
Anybody else? What you want to talk about? Go.
Jerry.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm one of Jeff's students.
Yeah.
And I'm 13 weeks post-op from open heart surgery.
Oh, God bless you.
And I credit Tai Chi with my recovery. Wu Ji, Qigong, silk reeling, they all helped me recover a lot better, plus a positive attitude. And Jeff will attest to that.
Yeah. This is the most positive attitude.
One thing we know from Tai Chi, maybe we're not going to see somebody in the cage fighting using Tai Chi, although Zhang Wei Li actually studied Chen Qingzhou. But we do know that the magnificent healing powers is hard to explain. Yang has done a great job in documenting it, but there's no question that the practice of Tai Chi has so much in the benefit. And you're not going to be a fighter if you don't have good health. And we don't need any good fighters. We need people who understand and care about people and are able to use the yin and yang philosophy to avoid, collision.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're animals in that octagon, buddy. And they're there to make their money, and they want paid. They're hungry.
I've
Too.
got an article. I'm going to send it to you.
And
Come on, who else? Mark, what do you got to say? And Cheryl, what up? What happened again?
Started a sentence saying that healing starts with flow. And I'd just love to hear what you have to say about that. I certainly agree, but I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Me?
Yeah.
Sean Tucker has a...
Great to see you, Cheryl. You look
For
great.
you.
Sean Tucker has a program primarily designed for the inner cities. Movement is life. Movement is health. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So the flow is, as you know, with acupuncture, acupressure, you got meridians. Now, normally I say I'm dealing with the ocean and the rivers, the stick person, the coat rack, right? And the ocean's the dantian. I'm talking about the main tributaries. The small universe runs around the Zhangmai, your central major meridian, right? But the large universe, each extension, each arm, leg of the bows that Kai alluded to, each has their own small universe. And when you run them all together, that is the large heavenly cycle. So these all run together, and the whole concept has to run throughout the body. George Hsu used to say, when the hand turns, so does the foot. It opened the pickle jar, right? You close the pickle jar here, through your body the other side, and close the pickle jar. Now, in the acupuncture meridians, when a point is disrupted and the energy can't flow through, what happens is normally it flows through like this and comes through. Now, when the point is blocked, what happens is now the stuff can't get through. Energy can't get through, right? not only does that happen, but this is what happens. It builds up. There's a tremendous amount of negative qi that is happening in the body. And the sicker you get, if you don't free that flow, you'll die, right? So that's what I mean by flow is the important thing. The body, it has to flow through the body. And that's what happens, Cheryl, as you well know, as we get more progress along with Tai Chi, the body mind knows the path of the energy. It feels it. So, you know, if it's not happening when you feel it, you feel that it's not happening and you know you have to correct it. And sometimes maybe you can't correct it. You might have to go to the doctor. You might have to go get acupuncture, chiropractor, something. You have to get the flow. Now, here's what happens. This is what I noticed with my knees that used to be bad. And I still feel it these days when it doesn't happen properly. When the energy goes down the legs and stops at the knee. Can you feel that? It doesn't get to the Yang Chuan. It doesn't get to the ground. I say feel the ground at your feet. If it doesn't get through the knee, now it's stuck in the knee. And do you feel it in the knee? You sure do. And it's not good. So it's got to flow through. And when it doesn't flow through, then that's where sickness comes from.
One closing comment, and Jeff talked about his knee. Well, I directed all the energy to my heart to get it back to hopefully normal. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Jerry. Did that answer your question, Cheryl, or does that have any impact? Can you relate to it, or can you add to it?
Absolutely, just that sense of softening for the feeling of the energy moving through every, I think through out to the distal and then back probably too. It's kind of the yin and yang. Yeah.
Yes.
So
with the large universe and each arm and leg having their own small universe, it goes out and it comes back. But I'm telling you, HunYuan shows us all of it, right?
The ultimate goal is the unification of heaven, earth, and the human being.
Right. And you got to make it happen in here, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. And so some of them are only shown in the massages at the end, right? Like for instance, when you go like this,
Yep.
that's the way the energy flows in the arm, right? And then on the leg, HunYuan, Qigong exercise, that's the way the energy flows in the leg, down the 3 outside major meridians, up the 3 inside major meridians. And it just makes it all come together. I'll tell you what, if you do it for 100 days every morning, if you get up at 5 a.m. and do it, it's one of those things it'll change you.
I mean, if you look at the HunYuan in his book about the Qigong, I think he has a very simple explanation for that flow, if you can feel it. In Tai Chi, you do this all the time, right?
Yeah.
All the time. Why do you do that?
Yeah.
Very simple. For you, just the flow, you are collecting the yang, the clean energy from the sky, and cleanse and wash through your body, and then you want to go through the ground. And if you go smoothly, you are the fuse to connect the sky to the ground. And the fuse, the current, it always goes through your body. And then once you have that feeling, then you move around, that's HunYuan, qi around you, you're moving, and then you are still connecting all the qi moving all the way, goes through your body all the time. And then I think that idea is a Qigong idea, right? It's not HunYuan does not create it, but how he best simplify that whole explanation. That we call a sky, earth, human into one. Right? In Chinese, called 天地人和, means those three elements coming together become harmony. It's up over you, up under you, and there's you in the middle.
A really good, more information about HunYuan is on Yaron Seidman's. He really put in a lot of time and attention. And one thing he was saying is, Feng spent more time with HunYuan than he did with Chen Fako. Chen Fako, you know, I guess he started studying in 58, and then, you know, he was gone after about 5 or 6 years. He studied with HunYuan from 1948, and I think HunYuan was around until the 70s.
And also, I think Master and Feng put them two of them together, give Tai Chi, to me, to my knowledge, a much better meaning, is because if you think about the whole Qing village practice, they're very application focused.
Very what?
They're very application focused.
Yeah.
About martial arts, about how to achieve certain application movements. And HunYuan is much of a Qigong exercise. It's about harmony. It's about mindfulness, right? And the mindfulness itself is what makes Tai Chi as inner martial arts so beneficial to everybody's well-being, everybody's rehabilitation or fitness. It's about alignment, right? So that's why 10 villages train people very hard. Because why? They want to achieve something very quick. It's about muscle, it's about joints, it's about get there. But the Feng training is much more relaxed. Because why? It's about mindfulness. It's about training your mind, how to work with things around you. So I thought the Feng system to me is very beneficial. Is why it makes Tai Chi a lot bigger than just martial arts. And actually, to be honest, martial arts is more better martial arts if you beat people up than Tai Chi, right?
So Michael
So really,
Dorgan was talking about that last time we met. He was saying the unique thing about Feng's system, talking about internal and external, is the focus on yi, intention, and qi, energy, as opposed to specifics.
yeah. So like Zhang was talking about the 6 alignment, right? So that's what right now, if I teach people Qigong and circle reading, I will say 6 alignments. Focus, mind. Mind, dantian. Dantian with qi around you. Inner, 3 alignments. And the outer, over the shoulder, hip, right, knee, elbow, hands, foot. So if you have that awareness, you will be relaxed. So, but the key, I think, is overall is that what you try to train you and just you told me a few times that like a few days ago, but the Feng says, right, when you train the form, you're fighting with all the virtual enemy around you. They're all you. They are not physical enemies, they're all you. It's about mindfulness training, right? When you actually face a real enemy, a real opponent, it's a replay. You don't have to time to think. It's not
if you even think of fighting, you're automatically creating stress, and you know, it's not a HunYuan thing to think about punching somebody or getting punched.
Yeah.
But you know, he reached.
So the Zhang.
Can't hear you, Mike.
Something happened.
Yeah.
Well, Michael made a great point.
So one thing Zhang told me, when I practice, yeah.
No.
So when I tell people to start to form, I said, first of all, you stand there, clear your mind. And then your eyes flash straight, find any object far away from you. Maybe just a street, but anything you can focus on. And take that object, your mind, take the bike in front of you, in the air. That's what the virtual, that's you. You are dancing with that snake. Now you do your form. That was dancing with them. So it's everywhere. You are pushing with him, he play with you. So that you train your have the mindfulness when you do your form. You are still has a highly mind training, alert training, but also relaxed. Is why you basically play a mirror of you. And that's I mean, Zhang told me like that, like years ago. So that's why I want you to form like this. And then I personally feel that's actually pretty helpful. And not for me personally, but when I teach students, when I say that, they feel a lot more like receptive. That makes sense. Now I say, well, to the form becomes your form. You don't have to follow me. You follow what you play with, right? And that's why I mean, but how the idea of that is really
HunYuan gives you that opportunity. You know,
got it, but
self-nurturing. You know, Yang talks about that, and Feng talks about that. I mean, the highest level of Tai Chi, of all Chinese philosophy, is self-cultivation. How to continue to improve yourself so you're a better person. We good? Anybody got anything else to say? Speak now.
Mark, Jeff,
Mark.
Stephen.
So I don't know what we'll do next time. Just if you have any ideas, let me know. There's so many other people we can talk to. I know we can also have discussion groups. I mean, the one time we had about 5 or 6 people. We were all talking about different subjects. That was on Qigong and Qi. We might go back to that, you know, where we invite a bunch of people just to join in. But if there's anything you guys can think of, and I don't have to be the person who organizes it. If any of you guys have a program that you think will be interesting, bring it on. I mean, this is primarily for people who've had exposure to the HunYuan system, but you know, we've got other people too. So feel free. I mean, the thing is, why keep this stuff to ourselves? Why not share? Why not do push hands with our mind and our experience and learn from each other? We can continue to learn even though now we're not physically practicing, but we have to be able to listen, which I have to spend more time practicing on, and learn from others. So
thank you, Justin.
God bless
Thank you, brother.
Stay safe, have fun. I'll try to come up with something, but if you come up with something, let Michael be the conduit. Now, Michael, I'm going to send you my notes on the entire HunYuan system. It was that workshop, Jeff, plus all the fun, all the following ones, including with Master Feng. So my notes are wonderful, but they're just for the disciple group and then friends like Bruce and Jeff.
Sorry, guys. I just saw that I was on mute all the time. I'm so sorry. I just
Mark, go ahead.
Yeah. So, wow, this was great. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. Really appreciate it. I know we're winding down, so I did have a couple of questions, but well, okay. One of the questions was about you know, Chen Qingzhou, your teacher. His LaoJia was a little bit different from what they practice in Chen right? It has a different flavor. It's. Can you talk a little bit about that?
What's the original?
Okay, but I mean, how was it different? Besides, it was just.
For instance, Youze came here. Chen Youze came here, and we learned a lot. Learned sword, learned 26, learned all kinds of things. We had him come to teach LaoJia, and I quickly had to tell everybody we don't do it that way. He took the cover hand punch out of the form and into the 45, 90-degree XinJia punch. And a lot of the transitions were XinJia. And I just had to, certain places I had to clearly say to my students, you're going to have to learn how to forget this. Only doing the pure LaoJia. The one I always got in trouble for because I added some XinJia in there because that's what I do most, right? And so it's clear that when there's added things there, you've lost the purity. Now, I'm not saying the added things are wrong. I'm not saying they're bad. It's just that they're different. They go to a different system. They go to a different form. So
the ideal would be to learn the LaoJia first and then experience the continuation and XinJia. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, second form, LaoJia second form is nothing but rot gut kung fu. Period.
So that's a big question. I mean, Zhou Songhua and other people posited the idea, and that's what they teach the kids in Chen Village, just to keep them interested. They can jump around. But they said there's a cannon fest in the Shaolin Temple. And that this may have, the Shaolin Temple was only 1 day's journey from the Chen Village. You see the variation, you see the connection with the horse stance and everything. But he was saying that the LaoJia is the first form, and then you finally get to the Paotui, because there's a cannon fist in Shaolin, is the first form, and then it progresses to the first form.
That's interesting that you guys mentioned Shaolin, and I don't know if you guys have experienced this with Zhang, because when I wasn't connected, Zhang would always say, Mark, you're Shaolin, no, you're Shaolin, no tension. You know what I'm talking about? Did he point that out to you when you weren't connected? Any of you guys relate to that?
Well, both Feng and Zhang had some background in Shaolin.
Yeah.
It's Shuai
Shuai, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So who's on the agenda for next week? Kai, Michael, who are you going to interview?
One time I want to have a thing where everybody who has a funny story about Master Zhang contributes. I mean, he is such a character. And Marky Mark is from Denver, and he is the disciple of Master Zhang. But he's also an actor. He and Jim Guerra do the best impressions of Master Zhang. You just can't, and if you're in a dark room and you listen, you're gonna crack up. You're gonna really crack up. One more Marky Mark, one more Zhang impression.
Okay, wait a second. I was thinking about this. Usually I got to get worked up for this.
Okay, no, he's a method actor.
But wait a second.
Has to turn the lights off and put a towel.
Mark, you bouncer. You bouncer. No TaiChi bouncer. You bouncer. He's outside together. Together. You stupid.
All right, well, no disrespect,
All right, okay.
but you gotta love it. I mean, that's such a...
Wind up, man.
Well, if you got any ideas, let me know. Otherwise, there's other people. I haven't talked to the guy who runs the school in San Francisco.
Malcolm.
Malcolm, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk to Malcolm.
He can commit to it, right?
The other one I want to do is have a women's thing, because there's so much, Feng and everybody had 4 daughters, and I love Feng's daughter. What's her name? Feng Zhiqiang.
Chen.
She's wonderful. How do you know her, Jeff? You mentioned her. Feng's daughter.
I only knew her from Pema Saling. That's the only time I ever saw her.
From what? From
when Feng came to Pema Saling.
Oh, that was the older daughter.
That was
The younger daughter has been here.
Which I don't know. Yeah.
She is incredible. So much fun. Just the greatest. But I'd really like to ask you guys if there's a woman moderator who could, I'd like to go back over the form, because there is a slight difference in one sense. And with Mulan coming out in the next week or two, I'd really love to have a women's forum where, we talk about, how, if any way, I mean, not much, the art gets cis and everybody else is affected by one way or another, and what the women's perspective is. I mean, especially now more than ever. Feng always said that when it comes to internal, the women always get it first, because they're used to being aware of the insides. And he also said, when you see a woman on the battlefield, you're going to drive the other way, because if she's out there, you know she's got something going on. But that might be a good one, Freddie, maybe, and Cheryl, and Kat, and Sis.
Or
And
Xiaofan.
I think Sis.
Linda, maybe we can get Linda in on this and
Yeah, yeah.
Alice.
Oh,
Alice.
yeah. So it'll be for all of you, for each other, but also be for us, because a lot of times we miss it altogether, you know. And I always remember Feng. I mean, all the guys were coming, Master Feng, push. And the women just be doing it. And he would always be drawn to the people who are not begging or harassing him. That would be a good one. I'd like to wait until Sis gets back, because she's done so much with women in the wilderness, women in the martial arts. And she has that video with Mark Johnson on Tai Chi and women. So that's something we'll play it for. I think she said she's available after September 7th. So if you can talk to the ladies, or we can send out a mail or something, I think that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
You know, women hold up half the sky, and they've inherited the art from Feng. Liang Shou has 4 daughters. Kai has 4 daughters.
3 daughters, no, 3. 3.
Right? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That's
So-
a woman, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's
So-
plan on that down the line. I might ask, Malcolm has never jumped in on any of these
Yeah,
things. He's
so-
interested when I asked if I'd like to introduce, I mean, if he'd like to be in.
Yeah.
So I'll give him a
Bo-
call and see if he'd like to.
yeah. So,
Do it.
Just
Malcolm-
a word
yeah.
in advance of that, I recall Master Zhang saying, men are male on the outside and female on the inside, whereas women are female on the outside and male on the inside.
By that, he was meaning women are strong on the inside. Women,
Probably.
you know, men are, they're strong on the outside, they're weak on the inside. Women, you know, they're the ones, they never run away when the
Mhm.
family splits, they take care of the kids, you know, they put up, they are the strong ones. You can really see why God had
Yeah.
had a second thought and said the same thing. And
Yeah.
exactly right. We got to put this, we got to do this right.
I-
Well, there's so much we need to learn, but the men have to learn how to shut up. So if we do the women, I'm going to turn off my microphone, turn off all the men's microphone.